Okay. Okay. Well, while we're waiting for our first presenter, I would like to explain about the rules of the presentation. So each presentation, yes, for each presentation, we have 15 minutes, consists of 10 minutes presentation and 5 minutes for question and answer section. Okay, Mr. Dennis Taufik Triwibowo. Okay, please share screen. Monggo, Pak. Is there any problem in share screen? Oh, okay, okay. Oke, wait, Pak Denis. Sudah dapat presentasinya?
Good day, everybody. My name is Argyo De Martoto. I'm a lecturer from Department of Sociology, Faculty of Social and Political Sciences, Universitas 11 Maret. In this occasion, I would like to present my paper with Ahmad Ramdan entitled Complying with Health Protocol for Community-Based COVID-19 Prevention and Control. As we know that COVID-19 global pandemic is spreading all over the world, Republic of Indonesia's government has released a variety of policy related to COVID-19 prevention and control. COVID-19 pandemic encouraged community groups to solve collective problems in integrated manner along with government as manifested into Jogotongo program in Surakarta, Indonesia. The objective of research is to study the people's compliance with health protocol to prevent and to control COVID-19 in Surakarta. So, we use the method qualitative research method with exploratory approach, direct observation on community life in RT, RW, Kelurahan, and sub-district environments in Surakarta, Central Java. We use interview online through social media like Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram. And also we use secondary data from news about the phenomenon occurring during pandemic. We use triangulation techniques and also interactive analysis model. From the research, we know that Jogotongo is a community-based attempt of mitigating COVID-19 disaster accommodating local wisdom, thereby can improve community compliance and participation during COVID-19 pandemic. Social association at RT, RW, and social communities like Family Welfare Program, Karang Taruna, Remaja Masjid, and so on, exchange information and education concerning the hazard of COVID-19 to safeguard their neighbor and neighborhood. Member of society strengthen social economic network during pandemic era so that COVID-19 positive case can be controlled. So, COVID-19 pandemic requires the people to be aware of and to comply with government's policy to prevent the virus transmission. Jogotongo is a disaster mitigating attempt taken to make people obedient to the government appeal and a means by which government can enter into collaboration with the people in preventing and controlling COVID-19. Jogotongo is an effective attempt to grow consciousness and obedience with within society considering social cultural value approve mutual. Pupils obedience is essential in the form of loyalty honored by its individual, manifested into real behavior due to humanity instinct and rational incentives. So our conclusion said that Jogotongo is an attempt of mitigating COVID-19 disaster based on community through accommodating local wisdom, thereby can generate consciousness and obedience within society independently during COVID-19 pandemic time. It gave the people the space for participation because of various habit, norms, and local value in Javanese community, social groups at RT, RW level, and other communities. So that Surakarta people from RT or RW level take care of their neighbors and environment from the transmission of COVID-19 in its effect. People strengthen social economy network during pandemic time so that COVID-19 positive case can be controlled. So thank you very much. See you next time.
Okay, thank you for the recording presentation. Thank you, Pak Dennis, for helping me to present the recorded presentation from our first presenter, Mr. Argyo Darmatoto and Ahmad Ramdan. And to continue with the second presenter, please I invite Mr. Hari Fauzi to present your research. Please, the panel is yours. You have 10 minutes and 5 minutes for question and answer.
Okay, thank you. Are you hear my sound? Okay.
Yes,
bisa mendengar suara saya? Oke, next. Oke, saya share screen dulu. Oke. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Excuse me. Okay. Let me introduce myself. My name is Hari Fauzi from Universitas Muhammadiyah Purwokerto. Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the chance given to me. Today, I will like to present my research entitled a method of collecting national health insurance premium for the informal sector in COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, this is the my research overview, background, purpose of study, research method, research and discussion, conclusion. Oke, National Health Insurance Indonesia, or kita dengar Jaminan Kesehatan Nasional, or the badan penyelenggaranya namanya BPJS Kesehatan. Ada 3 bagian, and 3 part, in the poor, PPI, penerima bantuan iuran, contribution paid by government, and then right is formal sector by payroll tax atau mungkin dipotong gaji, and then is the problem informal sector. In national health insurance is the name PBPU, penerima bukan penerima upah ya, peserta bukan penerima upah. Okay, is the characteristic is irregular income, is and then no target of the government program, and then large percentage, then potential universal health coverage. Is the problem for BPJS Kesehatan how to coverage informal sector. Okay, in this my gap coverage is the informal sector or PPPU is smaller, is 16%. BPJS and then BPJS Kesehatan dapat mencapai cakupan kesehatan semesta jika mereka mampu mengcover pekerja sektor informal. Sampai saat ini belum bisa. Oke, kita lihat lagi permasalahannya apa. Padahal kita bisa melihat and need innovative or to informal worker in the to informal worker. The sampling is the palm worker. and then batik worker. Okay. Okay, the aim of my research is describe a method of collecting national health insurance premium for the informal sector in COVID-19 pandemic in Banyumas district area. Kabupaten Banyumas is the large of informal sector. And then research method is qualitative research. The research location in Banyumas district, informal worker of farmer and batik worker. The subject were 16 participants in the interview, observation, and documentation. Data analysis, a thematic form of analysis. Software is use open code. Is the palm farmer worker is the sugar Java sugar gitu, gula Jawa. Research and discussion is strategy for informal worker is join a cooperative or community informal worker in education and registration is very important. Education for informal sector, how to can attractive to join BPJS Kesehatan, terus and then collective approach, pendekatan secara kolektif, easy registration for sector informal is the easy, how to easy registration and education registration, and then administration, easy administration for sector informal, how to collective and individual approach, and then collecting premium, easy payment for sector informal because the irregular gajinya tidak tentu, dan how to collecting approach, and then partnership with associasi or cooperative. Research and discussion, and then BPJS Kesehatan can association batik or koperasi batik of koperasi of the palm worker. Conclusion, this research indicated a method in collective premium decided by informal sector worker in Banyumas Regency through association or cooperative, and then this method facilitated the payment of contribution by BPJS Kesehatan by association or cooperative, then they are regular contact or what they trust from informal sector. Thank you. This is informal worker to join BPJS Kesehatan, or then how to achieve universal health coverage. Thank you for my presentation. There is enough my presentation. Thank you for your attention. Okay, might be any question. Thank you.
Okay, we have 10 minutes left for the discussion section. So
Okay.
if you all have any questions about Mr. Harry's presentation, please do not hesitate to raise your hand or drop the question on the chat below, please. Okay, while we're waiting the question from the participant, I would like to ask a question for you, Mr. Harry, about your research,
Yes.
especially about the methods of in collecting the national health insurance premiums, especially for the informal sector, because
Yes.
I know that we know maybe all of us here are Indonesian, and some of informal workers gets no concern from the government, especially about the healthcare awareness. So is your research also talk about how to improve the awareness of the healthcare system, especially for the informal sector?
Yes, we are the community. We are approach with community informal sector, and then koperasi Perbain atau koperasi Persatuan Batik di Banyumas, and then koperasi Palm Sugar atau koperasi Nira Satria. Nira itu gula ya, sugar ya, Palm Sugar is the very large informal sector, and then okay, I use bahasa ya, saya gunakan bahasa. Mereka lebih suka ikut BPJS Kesehatan jika mereka sudah sakit gitu. Dan anehnya mereka tuh tidak mau ikut kesehatan jika mereka benar-benar tidak sakit. Misal mereka sudah mulai kena diabetes atau mungkin boleh dikatakan harus kontrol seperti itu, baru and then informal sector join. And the awareness of the knowledge of the national health insurance is very lack atau sangat kurang. And then BPJS Kesehatan cenderung sekarang ini di era pandemi ya, malah cenderung kan sekarang digital. Tapi kita bisa tahu bahwa informal worker not digital is the is the irregular tidak tentu gajinya, dan di para pandemi seperti ini walaupun ada relaksasi tapi banyak sekali akhirnya sangat sulit dan perlu ada pendekatan, dan kami concern ke informal sektor bagaimana BPJS Kesehatan bisa melakukan method or approach ini. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So do you find it really hard to approach the informal sector,
yes,
especially to increase their awareness of the premiums payment, and even not the premiums payment, I think, about the awareness of the healthcare system. It's the main problem.
Awareness sector system is the tanggung jawab tidak hanya di pihak koperasi tapi juga puskesmas dan BPJS Kesehatan is to more socialization and education to spot atau titik-titik how to association or community informal sector is Dian.
Okay, thank you so much for the answer, Mr. Harry. Is there any questions from our participant?
Yes, any question? Is the research terus berlangsung fase 1, fase 2, walaupun kadang juga banyak tantangan dari Kepala BPJS Kesehatan Pak Ali Gufron Mukti, karena berharap sekali informal sektor itu dibiaya pemerintah tapi fiskalnya Indonesia tidak mampu. Oke, saya berharap banyak pertanyaan ya untuk memberikan sharing. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, maybe anyone interested to share about their experience. Okay, we still have 3 minutes left before we ended the second presentation order. Okay, I think we have no other question left here. Thank you so much for the presentation, Mr. Harry. So for our third presenter will be performed in a video presentation. So I need Mas Denny to help play the video.
Thank you for the opportunity for me to present my research about information uncertainty during the Indonesian pandemic, sociological perspective. My name is Rizky Setiawan from Department of Sociology Education, University of Sultan Agung Tirtayasa. This research conduct with Septi Kuntari, Stephanie Afrizal from the same institution, and Musawi from Department of Sociology of Education, Religion, IAIN Syekh Nurjati. This research began with the problem of the pandemic in Indonesia, began with the government underestimation of the COVID-19 virus. Various official information submitted by government officially generally describe that the pandemic condition will not stop economic development. Almost all ministers express their opinion openly to the public, which sometimes contradict each other, causing information uncertainty to arise. This paper seeks to find out how the relationship between the government and the community is in handling COVID-19 policies, especially on how the implementation of policies and the dissemination of information on managing COVID-19 have implications for the level of public trust in the government, which impact general compliance with policies prepared by government. With this reflection, it's hoped that policy making and implementation can follow the wider community's expectation in the future, where we will face a new normal era. This research, this paper used a sociological perspective to conduct a systematic review and meta-analysis. The article writing fully used secondary data collected from books, news clipping, official government letters, and tracking the latest research on coronavirus dynamics. This research result and discussion. The first one is the dynamic of COVID-19 handling policies in Indonesia. Mas Udi and Winanti state that COVID-19 has had give rise to governance crisis and policies for handling pandemics in various countries. Indonesia faced similar challenge. Even the early phase of the pandemic is exacerbated by the nuance of the politicization of pandemic. The neglect of science is at the beginning of the crisis. The absence of national guidance to manage the pandemic situation, limited economic capacity, and a minimal health service system. Indonesia already has preparation to deal with the pandemic situation as seen from the epidemic handling law number 4 of 1984 about the infectious disease outbreaks, and law number 6 2018 about health quarantine. Law 4 1984 explicitly states the role of Minister of Health in handling infectious epidemic. Presidential Decree number 11 of 2020, which stipulates a public health emergency due to COVID-19, is in line with law number 6 of 2018. Furthermore, the government the implementation of community activity restriction (PPKM), which is continuously extended and divided into several periods: PPKM period 1 and 2, PPKM Mikro, PPKM Emergency, and PPKM level 4. Agus Pambagio said that one of the causes of slow handling the pandemic was policy making that was not following the act. Miharja found that PPKM policy regulation harmed the community and decreased public trust in the government. Kurniawan et al. Found inconsistencies and weak coordination among government institutions in handling COVID-19. Likewise, with Marina revealed the inconsistency of the Indonesian government policies in handling COVID-19. Result to the dynamic of COVID-19 information in Indonesia, Ornstein and Ahmed said that even before the pandemic came, had discovered that vaccine do not save lives. It's vaccination that save lives. He revealed that while vaccines are among the most effective and cost-effective prevention, they are not used when not given to the people recommended based on scientific studies. I'm sorry, we will skip some point in this presentation because the restriction of time. Meanwhile, the communication strategy related to handling the pandemic crisis in a particular problem in Indonesia, since the government announced on March 2, 2020 information about the early detection of COVID-19 in Indonesia has been sporadic. The implication is that government response is not based on depth study. When the global community began to panic, Terawan Agus Purwanto, the Minister of Health, who had a vital role overcoming the pandemic on February, said the power of prayer is the reason of coronavirus that does not enter Indonesia. Meanwhile, information on the spread and death of COVID-19 globally permits every citizen to various global media channels without being damned. On the other hand, according to Safriani and Prasongko, the government is anti-knowledge about handling COVID-19. Refers to the most recent information about on PPKM policy, political communication expert Jamiluddin assessed that central government public communication was relatively poor and had not been coordinated from the beginning. The literacy condition of the Indonesian society, the dynamic of the lack reliable information conveyed by state official occurred during the society moving from rote education to scientific education. Then we skip public relation with the government policy. Understanding digital literacy is critical. Consider that most people are technology literate and accustomed to using digital media in their life. Digital literacy is necessary during the pandemic and to participate in modern life to overcome negative information COVID-19. Propose improvement. David Heyman, chair of WHO, said that the virus will become endemic even when vaccination have been carried out in many countries. And then we skip again. We use guidance to three structural cluster of society: significance, domination, and legitimacy. First, political institutions do not only carry out domination structure. Second, economic institution in the pandemic condition or later in the normal era should not only carry out the function of allocative resource allocation in liberal manner. Finally, the legal legitimacy of policies relies on legal aspect and get legitimacy from broader society. Thus, it's hoped that later unconscious motivation will be created, which in guidance mean a collection of actor knowledge created from social interaction, relationship, and management of a process in the social system. Conclusion: the Indonesian government has taken various policies to deal with COVID-19 can be said to be successful, considering the rate of addition of positive corona is decreasing day by day. The availability of the health facilities is poor, and the vaccination rate is getting better. However, there are also some weakness, such as saying terms and doubt about legal certainty in the policy. In addition, government policy also do not protect the entire community. Meanwhile, in the dynamic of information handling COVID-19, there are various uncertainties in the community, such as differences in data between institutions, conflicting statement between government official and policy change that do not reach the broader community due to limited literacy and access to the public information. Finally, in the relationship between the government and the community and legal sanction, government action are needed to strengthen public trust in the government. Thank you for the time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rizky Setiawan Untirta already joined with us. If you have any question, or maybe you would like to add some points to complete your presentations video. Masih mute, Mas Rizky.
Okay, maaf. I would like to take some point with bahasa because my English is bad. I just can read but not speak. Jadi penelitian ini dilakukan dengan menggunakan meta-analisis dengan mencari dari sumber hasil penelitian, buku, kemudian artikel, opini di media massa, juga berita-berita yang tersebar selama ini. Nah, dari hasil penelitian kami itu menemukan bahwa penanganan pandemi itu dilakukan tidak secara secara terstruktur gitu ya, dengan rencana yang bagus begitu. Itu tadi ada berdasarkan temuan Amalinda itu dia menemukan bahwa di awal pandemi pemerintah mengabaikan pengetahuan begitu dengan beragam hal gitu ya. Kemudian baru pada periode kedua kemudian pemerintah mulai memperhatikan soal itu. Nah, Nah, di dalam paper saya sudah ditampilkan tadi, sudah dijelaskan beberapa banyak bukti untuk itu. Nah, kemudian yang pandemi itu relatif ya sekarang sudah mulai membaik begitu. Dengan begitu sebenarnya paper ini ditujukan untuk bagaimana kita membangun era normal baru dengan lebih matang begitu. Jadi bagaimana kemudian langkah yang diambil pemerintah tidak tergesa-gesa, kemudian lebih berdasarkan pengetahuan dengan data yang akurat dan sebagainya begitu. Nah, yang di paper saya tidak ada, tapi itu terjadi seminggu terakhir ini ada tren kembali bahwa new normal ini kemudian terkesan dipaksakan gitu. Nah ini kita bisa lihat seminggu yang lalu kalau nggak salah itu WHO mengingatkan Indonesia untuk melakukan tracing yang lebih luas gitu terhadap orang yang terkena corona gitu ya, terkena virus. Nah saya lupa persisnya ya itu untuk kenapa kita mendapatkan angka penambahan positif corona yang cukup kecil akhir-akhir ini itu karena adanya penurunan tracing di situ begitu. Jadi bukan hanya memang menurun juga gitu, tapi tracingnya juga menurun gitu kan, seharusnya minimal berapa 1:20 kalau nggak salah. Nah itu di Indonesia itu masih minim sekali gitu. Kemudian pada saat momen-momen tertentu ketika pemerintah ingin membuka ekonomi dan sebagainya, tracing direndahkan begitu, dan kemudian mengakibatkan angka juga yang rendah tentunya. Nah mungkin itu jadi harapan dari paper ini adalah bagaimana kita menyusun langkah dalam menyambut new normal ini dengan jujur dan kemudian secara hati-hati.
Baik, terima kasih Pak Rizky. Maybe any question or comments from our participant? We still have 2 minutes left before we go to the next presenter.
2 minutes, Budian. Could I ask a question to Pak Rizky?
Of course, please, Pak Iwan.
Thank you very much, Budian. Pak Rizky, such an interesting topic you bring. I reckon you operate hidden structuration to conduct your research, but I would like to you to more elaborate about the actor and the structure maybe, because I rarely found it on your description from your presentation. Thank you very much, Budian.
Thank you so much for the comments, Pak Iwan Nurhadi. We will go to the next presenter, the 4th presenter. Thank you so much, Pak Rizky. I will invite the next presenter from Iskandar Zulkarnain, Michael Jeffrey Sinabutar, Panggio Restu Wilujeng, and Laila Hayati. All of them are coming from the Universitas Bangka Belitung with the title Pandemic COVID dan Negosiasi Identitas. So I think here already join with us at least one of the representation from the group. Pak Iskandar Zulkarnain or Tim? Mas Denny also this presenter present the videos? Let me check. Okay. Okay. We will skip the fourth presenter, so we go to the final presenter. The final presenter will be delivered by Novi Setia Yunas and Fazadora Nailufar from the School of National Institute of Public Administration about pandemic COVID dan identitas. Is there any mistake when I read the title? I found the similarities on the abstract book with the fourth and the fifth presenter. Please, maybe already with us.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes.
Fazadora.
Yeah, Miss Dian. Sorry, it's wrong. It's not my presentation.
Oh, okay. So
Yes.
I will check again to the schedule for your presentation. Let me check again. Oh, sorry. For
Our
the
presentation is a pentahelix.
okay. Yes, the pentahelix. I'm sorry. There's a mistake in the abstract books. So the schedules state that the title will be New Normal Life Strategy through Strengthening Pentahelix Collaboration. Lesson from Kampung Tangguh, Wani Jogo Surabaya, Policy of Surabaya. Am I right?
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Before I start our presentation, please let me introduce our team. I am Fazadora Nailufar from School of National Institute of Public Administration Jakarta, and my partner, Mr. Novi Setia Yunas from University of Brawijaya. Before I start my presentation, could you hear my sound clearly, Miss?
Yes, very clear.
Okay, thank you. Today, I'd like to present our research result with the title of New Normal Life Strategy through Strengthening Pentahelix Collaboration, lesson from Kampung Tangguh, Wani Jogo Surabaya, Policy of Surabaya. Okay, let me start our presentation from the introduction. Now, the world is facing very serious health problem. It's COVID-19 outbreak. It has become a global pandemic because infected about 220 countries in the world. WHO declared at least 100 million people in the world were infected by COVID-19 with a death rate of 2 million and a cure rate of 71 million people. This data from WHO on 2020. The impact of COVID-19 reached many sectors, not only health, but also reduce economic growth, increases unemployment, disrupt children education, increases domestic violence, and etc. Okay. These are the Indonesian government policies in handling COVID-19. Many policies, for the handling COVID-19. There are Kepres, Inpres, Perpres, Perpu, and next UU, Kepres, PP, and Perpres. Okay, next. Our research. Our case research in the Surabaya, yes. I start from the case in East Java province. The province with the highest number of positive patient was DKI Jakarta, with the 252,266 cases, followed by West Java and the Central Java, and finally the fifth position is East Java with the 150 case. This data from the Ministry of Health on 2021. As Java province is one of the provinces in Indonesia where the number of additional positive cases of COVID-19 is still quite significant every day. The significant case in East Java was dominated by cases in big cities such as Surabaya, Sidoarjo, Jember, Malang, and Gresik. Next. And now we can see the Surabaya case. Yes. Surabaya was the highest number of infected patients by COVID-19 in East Java because Surabaya is the capital of East Java. Surabaya includes in a black zone which had massive increasing in mortality. The most causative factor was movement of society. They potentially carry the virus from another area. Our research methodology is use the descriptive qualitative methods, and we use purposive sampling techniques and part observation and analyze by non-statistical method to explain the reality of Kampung Tangguh Wanijogo Surabaya in Surabaya. And the result is Kampung Tangguh Wanijogo Surabaya is a policy to control the increases of positive patient number. The East Java local government, together with regional leadership forum, or we call Forkompimda, create the Kampung Tangguh program. So the first program is Kampung Tangguh, and Kampung Tangguh Wanijogo Surabaya is the replication of the Kampung Tangguh program in East Java. Kampung Tangguh Wanijogo Surabaya is an innovation that generates social engineering from many elements of community to fight COVID-19. This program implemented in about 1,559 East Java village. This data from Jatim Prov in 2021. This program uses Pentaheli collaboration model, which there is collaboration between many parties, government, academics, the private sector, and the media. Kampung Tangguh Wanijogo Surabaya is generic concept that has three main components: theoretical basis, movement level, and movement pattern. First, Kampung Tangguh fully utilize theory of social movement as the basic of the movement, theory of space as reference for territorial control, social practices theory to direct people's behavior, progressive leadership theory for the command system. At the same time, Kampung Tangguh use basic principle just like the Android system work, so that the more robustness or application are installed, the more resilient the system is, because more application means more people depend on it. This basic principle and theoretical base are applied to become a unified concept of a two village. Next. In the Kampung Tangguh Wanijogo Surabaya program, all elements of society are actively and participatively involved, especially at the RT, Rukun Tetangga we usually call, and the RW, Rukun Warga, levels whose existence plays a role as implementer and target of government policies that run from the central level to village, or we call kelurahan level. Therefore, the community needs to be prepared both mentally and physically, so they need assistance. At this time, the concept of Kampung Tangguh has become one of the solutions offered in dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic disaster in community, especially in East Java. The Kampung Tangguh Wanijogo Surabaya has criteria become a top village, namely logistically in human resources, resilient in information, resilient in health, resilient in security and order, so in terms of culture and psychologically. Now I will present about the implementation of the Pentaheli collaboration in Kampung Tangguh Wanijogo Surabaya. Handling COVID-19 pandemic certainly can cannot be done alone by the government. It needs support and cooperation from the across sectors. One concept that can be used to maximize cross-sector support in handling COVID-19 and strategy towards new normal life is through the pentahelic concept. Pentahelic concept is collaboration from the government, private sector, media, community, and academic. Next. Okay. The role of the pentahelic parties is the first academic on the concept of the Pentahelic Collaboration Act as a drafter, because academic is the theoretical have theoretical skill, and the second, the private sector in the Pentahelic model acts as an enabler. The private sector is an entity that carries out business process in creating added value and maintaining sustainable growth. The private sector can act as enabler in presenting technology and capital infrastructure through existing corporate social responsibility mechanism. Third, the community in the Pentahelic model acts as an accelerator. Fourth, the government must act as a regulator as well as act as controller that has regulation and responsibilities. The government also has a role in coordinating stakeholders who contribute to handling COVID-19. An expander. The media plays a role in supporting publication and carry out socialization function to the community. And finally, the conclusion is COVID-19 has become a global pandemic that must be fought together. Effort to break the chain of the COVID-19 virus and decrease the curve in Indonesia are, of course, not only the responsibility of the health sector, but must be balanced with the effort to accelerate economic recovery, because the pandemic condition has quite significant impacts on the economic and the people in general. The Indonesian government, which has been working to manage this pandemic with various policies, has also opened up space for the general public, academic communities, the private sector, and the media to play a role through a pentahelic collaboration concept. Okay, the Kampung Tangguh Wanijogo Surabaya in particular and throughout East Java province is in general is considered an ideal format for the implementation of the pentahelic collaboration concept in effort to deal with the COVID-19. Several policies were made for preventive measures in the community, such as implementing rules for keeping distance and away from crowds. Washing hands with soap, using masks, and maintaining health, doing all activities from home, working, studying, and worshipping from home. Yes, appeals from private companies to channel CSR funds, and for the media to provide reliable and educational news and information to the public have also been made. So that with the pentahelic collaboration, effort to handle COVID-19 can be carried out optimally, and a community structure in the village is realized that is not only healthy and protect from COVID-19, but also logistically too, in human resources, resilient in information, resilient in security and order, culturally too, and psychology resilient. Okay, this is our references. That's all from me. Thank you for the opportunity. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for the very complete and perfect presentation from Ms. Fazadora Nailufat. So for the participant, we still have 5 minutes for the question and answer section. If you have any question or any comments about Ms. Fazadora research, please raise your hands or drop your comments in the chat below. So while we're waiting for the comments for the other participants, I have some questions, actually 2 questions, Ms. Paza, about the research. This is very interesting topics if we talk about the resilience of community during the COVID-19 situation. And my first question, we also find the similarities, resilience program from communities, like from the first presentation in Surakarta. We also known it as Jogotongo, or in Surabaya as Jogo Surabaya. So what makes Jogo Surabaya different from the other resilience community program? And my second question is about, you explained about the Pentahelix partnership, and do you find any challenging? What is the biggest challenge in implementing Pentahelix strategy for build community resilience?
Okay, thank you, Ms. Dian. Before I answer your question, please forgive me that now I'm in my way, so there are disturbing in my sounds and my performance. Okay, I will try answer the first question. Actually, according to me, this is the same program, and it's the difference is the language, the local language. Jadi perbedaannya hanya pada terminologi bahasa lokal saja gitu. The local terminology is untuk meningkatkan belonging di antara warganya, seperti itu. Jadi kita tahu bahwa COVID-19 itu kan sebetulnya kan pandemi yang sebetulnya penanganannya itu selain membutuhkan program yang bersifat general, tapi dia harus membutuhkan program-program yang bersifat lokalitas, seperti itu ya. Jadi dengan menggunakan terminologi lokal seperti itu diharapkan belonging masyarakat terhadap program ini akan lebih meningkat, seperti itu, Ms. Dian. Nah, and the second question is to explain Pentahelix collaboration. Ya, jadi sebetulnya kolaborasi Pentahelix ini sebetulnya kolaborasi yang sangat sempurna gitu ya, melibatkan semua unsur di dalam negara ini gitu. Jadi ada negara, ada private sector, ada civil society, kemudian ada akademisi, ada media, seperti itu. Nah, kalau ditanya misalnya apakah program ini sudah optimal, misalnya saya yakin ya kita masih belum bisa mengatakan ini optimal sekarang gitu, tapi minimal kita sudah ada arah ke sana gitu. Kita bisa lihat misalnya dari kasus COVID-19 ini, sebetulnya program skema atau model Pentahelix ini kan sebetulnya kan model yang tidak hanya kita temukan pada program penanganan COVID-19 ini saja gitu ya, Ms. Dian dan Bapak Ibu, tapi sudah dalam program yang lain gitu. Namun menurut kami gitu pada penanganan COVID-19 ini itu kolaborasi ini menunjukkan efek yang sangat luar biasa gitu ya, menunjukkan istilah kita itu nilai yang sangat baik, seperti itu gitu. Kenapa? Karena ya memang pemerintah tidak bisa menangani ini sendiri gitu ya, karena COVID-19 ini seperti tadi di presentasi kami mengatakan bahwa ini berdampak tidak hanya dalam satu sektor saja, tapi sektor yang banyak gitu ya, many sectors, dan itu nggak bisa ditangani oleh pemerintah saja gitu. Jadi kolaborasi ini pada saat COVID-19 ini, untuk pada penanganan COVID-19 ini kemudian bisa meningkatkan daya tahan masyarakat gitu ya. Misalnya ada banyak penelitian gitu yang meneliti tentang bagaimana program-program CSR dari perusahaan itu kemudian sangat berperan sekali dalam minimal istilahnya menggairahkan perekonomian, seperti itu ya. Nah, kemudian dari yang tadinya misalnya pedagang kaki lima harus kolaps karena ada PPKM dan lain sebagainya, minimal karena ada pertolongan dari CSR perusahaan tadi itu bisa bangkit. dan dengan diberitakan oleh media gitu, rasa optimisme masyarakat itu kemudian menjadi bangkit dan menjadi apa istilahnya itu faktor yang meningkatkan imunitas gitu ya, sehingga kemudian masyarakat itu tidak merasa bahwa hidup kita akan berakhir dengan COVID-19 ini. Seperti itu, Miss Dian.
Oke, baik, terima kasih Bu Fazadora atas jawabannya.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any other questions from the participants or any comments about the research method and maybe about the result? Because we know that pentahelix is the main approach from the National Board of Disaster Management in Indonesia, right? They highlighted these programs very well in any layers of disaster. They work with the communities. I also have some research in disaster management, and the pentahelix considered as the most effective that we can do right now to answer the effect of COVID-19. Okay, so we have arrived in the final presentation. We're coming to the end of this section. For closing this panel about the economic well-being and community empowerment in the times of pandemic, I will conclude that all of the research that already presented by all of the presenter. Unfortunately, we miss one presenter here from the Iskandar Zulkarnain to present as the fourth presenter, but it's not keeping us down for the quality of the presentation from the other participants. I'm very thankful for all of your totality and attendance to complete this section as well. So after this, we can leave this room and go to the main room, or maybe some of you already thinking to join with other presenter section. You may go to the main room first and then ask the desk help for put you in other room. Thank you so much for the participants. I really appreciate for your effort to complete all the paper and presentation. Let me leave the breakout room and we will go in the
Okay, thank you, Miss Dian.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Halo. Bersiap.